Hi everyone, the following video is a recording from our third artist feedback AMA session featuring landscape and aerial photography. This session was held in the MetaJungle Discord on April 22nd and hosted by talented photographers and active MetaJungle members Dan Hawk and Jason O'Rourke. In this session, Dan and Jason reviewed and gave honest feedback on 10 different NFT collections. We want to thank Dan and Jason for their time, as well as all the artists who submitted their work for review and everyone that was able to attend. We hope you find this information useful, and we look forward to providing more in the future. With that, let's go on ahead and get into it.
But without further ado, Jason O'Rourke, welcome, and thanks for co-hosting with me.
Yep, happy to be here.
Yeah. So in case you missed all that, Jason's in Hawaii. It is it's 8 a.m. there, 11 a.m. here in Portland. And I know we've got people all the way across in Australia joining us on the call this morning on the show. I think the best thing we can do is just dive in. This is a landscape and aerial review session. We're gonna kick things off with this one here. This is a collection called Chasing the Blues. It's on Foundation. Shabby Artist is the artist, and I think I saw this person's name somewhere else.
They're in the chat at the moment.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk and give our thoughts on it first, and then if Shabby Artist, if you've got additional questions after that, we'd love to talk with you. And we're going to try to aim for around 10 minutes per collection. So, with that said, Jason, let's dig in. I guess first impressions. What do you think as you're seeing this first collection?
Yeah, this is a nice group of images that are all good landscape, good representative, some variety with the beach scene and the mountains. I went through the description and looking at these different. So it's traveling across Asia, but I don't see a lot of information about where these places are. So the challenge here is these are on Foundation. So obviously these are minted already. Have we updated the recommended information to include with collection descriptions and image descriptions?
I don't think it's been updated yet since we talked about it a few weeks ago.
So I still have those two on my phone. I can always drop those into the chat if unless there's something new that the MetaJungle team wants to share.
I'd say drop it in there because I don't think we have a new one yet, do we?
We actually do. I can put them in there for you. Yeah, I actually just made them a couple days ago, and I just haven't gotten them yet. But
if you've got them, I can't wait to save them to my phone because I find these to be very helpful when you sit down to build a collection, to think about everything that you want to put in there information-wise, because that's essentially, I mean, the images are beautiful, but for me, I just want to know more about them. When you open these descriptions, they're quotes. Unless I'm missing, there's not any information about where the locations are or the story behind the piece. Oh, there we go. That one's got a little bit more here on the glacier. So I'm looking at Haola. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. That one has a little bit more, but there still are, artist information and all of those key details that I think are important on collection descriptions.
Agreed. Okay, and so let's dive into that a little bit. So the feedback we're giving now, because we're talking about descriptions and they're not, and we're looking at Foundation, we know they're not editable. So Shabby Artist, take this as and everybody else listening, take this as a note for what to do in the future. I think what makes sense is to really think about your description really should detail. We already have your artist name up here, but remember that when they leave Foundation, this may not be a thing that shows up. So it's good for you to have what your artist name is, how many pieces are in how many, if it's a one of one, if it's part of a collection, any other details you want to share, and you probably want to share your licensing information here. Foundation's a little different because you cannot add, it doesn't have a spot for properties, but you do have the ability to add hashtags, which can help people find it. So for future, you can make some changes to how you do your individual descriptions. Let's talk about what is editable, which is the description of the collection. This is pretty sparse. I think I would like to see more detail about the artist.
Yep, for sure. And of course, there are some limitations with character count too, but
Right.
that may be the best place to try to sneak some of the artist information in with the collection description, but also some of the licensing and the idea that this is a collection of 1/1 NFTs.
Right, exactly. Makes sense to me. I'm just going to take a look and see if we can figure out. So the artist asked, I've been experimenting with different formats and wish to drop some of my video and 360 VR work too. However, most people I've discussed it with suggest it's not a good idea until I sell out my series. Do collectors prefer artists to, sorry, this is, who specialize in a particular genre, and what are your views about minting another collection before the existing collection sells out? So that's one of the questions. I think. Go ahead.
You know how I feel about that. I honestly think, I have a wide variety of pieces that I put together. So for me, I think it's a valid option to provide collectors different price points, different. I don't do video, but certainly I think if that's part of the medium that the artist works with, then there's nothing wrong with having another collection that showcases those pieces. I do think it's important that if you're going to release more work before the current collection is sold out, that it's got to be significantly different. You don't want to release another Asian landscape collection while these are still available.
Yeah, exactly. I think that kind of covers it. There was another question that the artist had. I started minting my series in February, but haven't had any bids yet. How can I improve my visibility apart from attending spaces? Well, I think spaces. I mean, you obviously know that's a thing, so that's why you mentioned it. I think the thing this is feedback I keep giving every week, and it has worked for me. It's worked for other friends of mine. I think that if you take a single piece from this collection and you share it on Twitter and you give the whole story behind the image, talk about where you took it, talk about what it took to be there, that is what will make these pieces stand out, and what makes people want to go look at your collection. So I think doing things like that. So what I would do is, you have 8 pieces here. Well, that gives you 8 days of taking an individual photo, writing up a whole story, maybe doing a thread of, a few different tweets. If you've got any behind the scenes photos from these days, that can be helpful for those too, any video. And you can begin to then tell the stories of these places. That would be my number one recommendation.
Yep, I totally agree. I think that kind of storytelling on Twitter. And the other thing to remember is, Twitter's just one vehicle to get this collection out in front of other people, but you can also engage with other artists on Twitter. So it isn't just about sharing your own work, and it doesn't have to always be NFTs. You can share, a shot of you out in the field. You can share something you're doing over the weekend, and just kind of building an awareness of who you are as a person, I think, helps market the whole collection.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. So I know we've got the artist here. Did you have any additional questions aside from what we had shared there already? If you would like to jump in and ask some brief questions. Maybe not. It's okay.
And I'm currently saving. Thank you for dropping those 2 new details. So the description, suggestions behind the whole collection, and then the individual images. So Greatly appreciate those.
Okay, Shabby Artist, I see your mic is unmuted. You have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you actually, because you guys hit the nail on the head in terms of the description, because I've also been feeling that maybe I should have done more with the descriptions. And I think the best thing to emerge out of this discussion is your suggestion about maybe using each of these 8 images and kind of elaborating on the story behind each piece. And that way, I think it can kind of help me bring more attention towards the piece, because I can't change the description anymore. And back then in Feb, I wasn't very well versed with licensing and all these factors. And in fact, before filling up the form, I did ask whether I could do it because I didn't have these details. And thanks for having me here, and thanks for these suggestions. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah. No, glad to have you. I think this is the thing. We're all learning as we go, and so maybe
These are plenty of the mistakes that I made in the beginning. So I think we all do them, and that's part of the point of hosting these is to try to give as much advice up front so that people learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's exactly how I feel about it. It's I think if there's one lesson you can learn, it's that there's not one specific way to do it. It's that you need to really think about, from an artistic as an artist, you should really think about how do you want your art to be presented once it's out of your control. Once it has been sold, once it's on the blockchain and you can't change it, what needs to be included? And if somebody found this art on its own, not in the collection, how do they what's going to be there? And that's the way you should think about it. But yeah, great collection. I think one thing I was going to mention is that I think I really love the theme, and I would be, just as this is something I just notice here, is that this photo continuum and this photo metamorphosis, I know that they're different foregrounds, but we've got the same mountain range in the background here. And I'll just say that if there was any one thing I would kind of be mindful of, it's just to not have scenes that are too duplicated. I don't think there's anything wrong with having them both in here, but I just want you to, if I had one piece of feedback there, that might be it, just from an artistic and a curation standpoint. Jason, do you have anything else you'd want to add?
No, I think the images are strong, and then it's just a question of building on descriptions as the artist moves forward.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. The next one is Betula Ellis is the artist, and let me jump over here. It should be, I gotta remember which one it is. I'm juggling too many screens here. Okay, so that one is the collection. Let me just click on it so I know what it is. A Simple Moment is the one we're looking at here. Which is this guy here. And so right off the bat, I think it's really striking. I think when this one first popped up, we both were like, whoa, okay, it seems like maybe we've seen some of these images before. But I think, like, obviously this one is on purpose. We've seen it before because it's supposed to look like the Windows
wallpaper.
Wallpaper, yeah. And my first thought was that this almost feels more like fine art abstract and a little bit less landscape. But I think it's okay. It's okay to include it here in this grouping. And I'd love to just look at and read this collection statement. I'd like to introduce you to the most special collection of my works, A Simple Moment. Photographing such moments means a poem for me. It's like saying a lot with few words, like crowds growing out of solitude. That's why such works that take photos feed and motivate me more. My collection consists of 9 pieces. I took all the photos with high JPEG quality. Okay, so I don't like to get super nitpicky here, but I'm going to get nitpicky. You said 9 pieces, but there's 14 items here. So you want to correct that. And then also, I think you might want to lean in, and the MetaJungle family is a great place to do it. I've said it a lot. Please take me up on this. Ping me, really anywhere in the chat channels or marketing channels on the Discord, or maybe there's another channel that I don't know about. that would be a great place to ask for somebody to help proofread what you're writing here, or just give it a second set of eyes to see if it flows well. I think there's a little bit of grammatical stuff here.
It's interesting, Dan. I'm looking at the. It says 14 items, but I only see 9.
Do we have any that are? I wonder.
I think it's
is there
just
addition in here?
OpenSea's metadata. So I'm going to take a wild guess that some of the images that used to be in this collection were deleted, and it just hasn't caught up.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, let's take a look at them. I'm gonna put them in order, oldest to newest, and we'll just kind of start looking through these. So right off the bat, I see we've got our title, we've got our artist name, we've got the collection version type, biography, and then a license at the bottom here. And we've got a bunch of stuff here in the properties, which is great. I see that it was shot on a DJI Mavic 2 Pro, fantastic drone. Let's take a look at the image.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is really great. I love the detail here. This is so cool. I really like this. This seems like it could be an amazing, this almost looks like an Apple desktop sort of an image. Has so much.
Really high quality.
Yeah, that's great. I like that a lot. I see that it's owned by JF, that guy's like the Twitter hype man of NFTs right now.
The other Jason.
The other Jason, yeah. Let's take a look here. This is also really cool. I love the minimalism of this one.
But again, you get a lot of really good detail, and the lines. It's framing on this is great. Really strong images.
Yeah, these are. I'm not used to seeing. I mean, I see a lot of drone imagery. I'm not used to seeing drone imagery that's this sharp in web format. That's super cool.
Yeah, right.
Oh wow, look at that up close.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay, this is great. This is great work. Let's take a look at these two because they're pretty similar.
So it's actually, to me, it's actually 3. Although now I want to look at the third one.
Yeah, let's take a look.
One's a little different. That's interesting. It's interesting because my immediate reaction was that those 3 didn't fit, but it's really just the 2. New Life and New Life 2, that to me, it's, the others are incredibly detailed. They're landscapes, but then these are sort of very minimalist with the white background. So I thought Last Passenger was the third one, but when you look at it, obviously it doesn't have the same kind of detail as some of those landscapes from edge to edge, but there's a lot of detail on the train and the colors, and I actually kind of like this one.
I do too. Yeah.
So I was expecting that one to be the third one that didn't quite fit, but for me it's just those 2 with the person and the chair that don't seem to fit with the rest of the theme here.
Well, that's kind of my take as well. And I'll just let me give a little bit of artistic feedback. These sharp, really interesting composition on all of these. This one is not quite the same high quality in terms of just the resolution. When I click on it and zoom in, it's a really cool image. It maybe doesn't hold up quite as well as the big drone photos. I'm guessing that this one is going to be amazing. Let's take a look at it. This is cool, but I think maybe this is I really like it. I don't know that it fits. I think that you've got an interesting set of kind of abstract sorts of images here, but I feel like these 2 are not as high quality, just in terms of, a couple things here. Let me look at them and see. I'll look at the description.
So to me, it's not so much the quality. I think the image is there. It's just a question of the contrast to the other landscapes in this group. I think they just belong somewhere else.
I could see that. But I also feel like, I don't know. I understand the artistic choice here to have it all blown out. I kind of wish it weren't though. And I can see in this image that it doesn't necessarily need to be. Like I can see some details here. I can see some blue up here in the corner. I'd like to see a little more detail, and I think it would still hold up well. I guess overall, maybe here's what I would be getting at is, part of our job here in these AMA feedback sessions is to really help you work through putting together compelling collections that a collector would see and go, okay, that makes sense. To me, when I see this, I see a bunch of really beautiful imagery. What I don't see is a solid cohesive theme, if that makes sense.
Right. So again, that Dance in November image, like you said, the color there, the detail is there, but it sort of stands out as, models.
It's a different style, right?
Right.
Oh, and I think this one fits with the ones up at the top. So if I look, we're on OpenSea here, so there's some room to consider that perhaps if you were to recurate, move these to a different collection, and then lean more into your Mavic, drone work, these abstract aerial drone shots. I think you might have a collection that makes a little more sense. That's a little more cohesive. That's kind of my gut on it. And then if I were going to look and see your questions, are the photos close to each other? I think what you meant was do they make sense together? And my thing is I'm going to say I think you can do better at curating, if that makes sense. Any other thoughts there, Jason?
I think that pretty well sums it up.
Okay. And I didn't see do we have our artist here?
Do?
Yeah. So it looks like Betula is here in the room with us. Do you have any questions or additional things? I see you're trying to talk.
There you go.
Hello.
There you go.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad, really, for your comments. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Did you have any additional questions?
No, I'm working in OpenSea maybe from 5 months. From this my collection. This morning I have a surprise from GIF for first sale. I don't know if you.
Did that just happen?
So?
Did that sale just happen?
I want to say if I have mistake on my collection.
Oh yeah, it was
yes,
just
this morning. Yeah, this morning
yeah,
is
that
sale.
just happened. Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, I wait. Surprise email today.
Yeah. That's a beautiful image. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. This photo is very difficult for me after my camping fortnight because so far these places we will maybe later we taken this photo with my drone because so we was so tired we can't go again more. So I sent my drone and take photo.
That's great. Well, I hope you kind of heard what we were saying. I think we say more of this.
Yeah.
We like these here. These kinds of minimalist, sort of abstract and minimalist images. We like these.
Yeah, I love Leonly. When I learn it's the same my life. When I taking photo and I'm taking too much photo. 1 year maybe I am for photo going to 15 and 20,000 kilometers with my car. It's very difficult photos for me. This collection. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, keep it up. Thanks for being here with us. All right. Well, Jason, let's move on to the next one. So we've got this collection, which is Infrared of World, and the artist on this one is, let's see if I can get their name right. Recepalal is their username here in MetaJungle. And I think this is cool. I like this. I like this aesthetic. I love the infrared thing. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This collection, named Infrared of World, consists of a total of 10 NFTs, each of one edition. It excites me to see the world that we cannot see with infrared photography. I feel like I've discovered places that are not of this world. Sometimes I feel like I'm dreaming when I look at the infrared photo. That's why I love infrared photography so much. I enjoy sharing this with you too. And we've got a link tree here. So let's kind of just dive in. I'm going to put these in order. Jason, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this one. Uh-oh, did we lose Jason? Maybe a better question is, did you lose me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I can see Jason's unmuted, but we just can't hear him. So I'll proceed along and I'll wait for Jason to jump back.
He said be right back.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, he looks like he had to log out and log back in. So we'll get him back in a minute. But I'll jump back over here. So okay, so infrared. Right. Hey Jason.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
It's something about pulling the headphones. If I pull the headphones, then I lose my mic somehow.
Yep, I've been there before.
So in any case, what I was saying is I've always found infrared kind of fascinating. I've never done anything like it, but what I particularly like is obviously you get all these crazy colors, you know, infrared number 3, infrared number 10, with the leaves and the trees, you get all that detail. But I really like that there's some animals and some people included too. I think that's a kind of different than what I've typically seen.
Right. Yeah, it is super. I too have not shot any infrared, and I know that there's different ways to do it. You can do it with film. You can do it with modified cameras. But once again, you usually only see, you know, kind of landscapey type scenes. You usually don't see people in them, so this is kind of interesting.
And the horses too, like not just the people. So definitely thought that was unique to the infrared that I've seen.
Yeah. So let's take a look at, I just pulled up the horses one here, and we've got a little description here. The human eye sees the range between 400 and 600 nanometers in a magnetic light spectrum. Infrared photography allows us to see beyond 600 nanometers. And then it goes through and talks about we modify the sensor of the camera to be able to get more. And then the location is here, the size of the image, the artist, the collection name, edition, and license. So we've got all the stuff that we need there, which is great. And I'm going to give a big giant hurrah because I see that license has been added as a property. And I'm going to just give Recep a very, very large high five and say thank you for doing that. I think it's important that you've added the licenses here if you can. I think it's this is the way of the future. Keep doing that. And infrared is super interesting when you pull them up and you look at them up close. They're really weird and they don't do what you think they're going to do. Pretty cool.
So all of that information is there, but what I was going to say is the challenge for me is if you go to the next image, the description is basically the same. So to me, yes. I'd almost rather that this is included as part of the collection description, or you could even do it kind of below the, you know, maybe even above the license, below the edition. because this is consistent information across the collection. But I'd almost want to know more about the location than just where it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think one of the things that could be interesting, like you said, this section here, the part about infrared, that could definitely be something that would be included up here. And you haven't, the artist, you don't have a lot here, so it probably could fit. You could fit it here. And then you could do it a little more individual descriptions of what we're looking at, like Jason said.
Right. Images are great, but I'd love to know, a little bit more of the story behind it.
Yeah.
What is this boat out in the field?
Yeah. What do you have any thoughts about just the overall curation of the collection? I mean, obviously infrared. We've got the infrared vibe happening. That it has a clear, there's a clear overriding theme here.
I think that ties it together pretty well. Obviously, infrared number 8, you get a little different color to the sky there, and infrared number 5, it's a little different color thematically, but I think that it still works together.
Right.
Even 6 with the water, obviously that's a different kind of cool color spectrum for infrared. But yeah, I think the infrared lets you tie it all back together, and I mean these are some really beautiful images.
Yeah, I agree.
Like infrared number 9, I mean 9 is one of those numbers for me, but that one just jumps out.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I were the only other thing I would, so I guess if I were going to give you a couple little pieces of advice, the first one would be that I would give. I know this is more work. I would name the individual pieces and not call them by numbers. It is okay if you want to include the number, but I think the individual pieces, they just stand on their own. They make more sense, and they're going to feel more. They feel more enticing, I think, as an individual piece somebody would want to collect if they have their own names and a description of what the person's looking at when you look at the description.
And I think, yeah, definitely would like to see the descriptions added. I'm trying to pull mine. So when I look at mine, I think I've got, the numbers for each. And so the collection is oh no, that's funny. It's in my description. It's not in the titles. So the titles are unique. But then the numbering I included inside the description. So that might be another option for this collection too.
Right. I almost feel like, I don't know that the numbers, I don't think they add anything. They don't make it more valuable.
Right.
In the title.
Yeah. The titles would.
Yeah. Do we have our artist here in the room? Did they have, was that a check and see?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't see them.
Unless I'm not recognizing the screen name.
Yeah, no, I don't see them in here. Okay, well why don't we go ahead and move on then? Our next one is our friend Christoph Jr. And this is we only have 2 aerial submissions this week, and we've actually reviewed some of his work in previous AMAs, but I thought it would be great the stuff we did in the previous AMAs was actually Mike and I reviewed it, and I'm pretty sure it was collaboration with digital artists.
Right.
So this is different. This collection, I'm going to read the description here. Being an aeromedical evacuation officer for the Army, piloting the UH-60 Medevac Black Hawk has given me amazing views from above. I've flown just under 1,000 hours. These photos are raw, in the moment, and capture some of my favorite moments during flight, each bringing you into the cockpit with me. A few selected photos of this collection have companions waiting to be airdropped to the collector. Past airdrops can be found at my companion collection. 50% of profits from these sales go back to those who served, yet struggle with their own internal battles. These proceeds help fund the stop of soldier suicide. My mission is to help bring them home during their darkest hour, help me take care of them once they get there. Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't read that before. I hadn't seen that. So I love that there's a giving back to your partners, the people that you've served with. That's really cool. I'm going to organize these. There's just so many questions, and Jason and you and I talked about this a little bit. Like, my first thought is, okay, how do you get these? Like,
Right.
if you're in the military, are you allowed to have these? And I would think that the military would be super tight with this and want these to be super controlled. But I've seen a lot of your work um, taken from the cockpit, which is cool.
It's such a unique perspective. And obviously, I'm a little biased here because a lot of these, I think they're all here in Hawaii. So I recognize some of the landscapes, and certainly I'm usually down on the ground taking pictures of Blackhawks as they're flying overhead. Um, so it's kind of an interesting perspective to see, and just including a little bit of the cockpit in these shots is a cool way to place them. So I definitely appreciate the way this collection is put together. That said, of course, then you get the one that steps out. Is just the scenery itself, and it's a crazy sunset. Um, I I think that image belongs somewhere, but once again, I almost feel like it doesn't fit with the rest of this group.
This one here.
And it's an amazing image, but all of the other shots in this have at least a piece of the helicopter as part of the frame.
Well, this one
I
does
think
too.
Oh wow, that is funny. Right? Okay, I do see it, but it's such a small piece. It didn't stand out at first.
Yeah. Yeah, I find, I guess, the things that we're always looking for. First of all, there's definitely a theme here. The way this is put together is great. You've got a very clear theme of what you're doing. You've described it very well. You've got a variety of different kinds of shots. What I One of the things that I'm kind of thoughtful about is that, like, to me, these are maybe a little too similar, and I know that they're both sold, so maybe they are more meaningful than I can tell. Maybe there's more in the story. Let's take a look. Yeah. Yeah, see, there's descriptions of exactly what's going on here, so that's really cool. Let me look at the other one. Okay, yeah, okay. And this is maybe the part where I feel like you kind of have to dig in a little bit to get the power of these. They each have that kind of their own individual stories, and so even though the images are kind of similar, I think maybe we're okay
Yep.
with having them be.
Explaining why the formation is the way it is. Yeah, I think this is all information that adds to the image itself. So this is why story is important.
So let's pick one that's not sold here and kind of look at our description and things, because I saw that the first two are sold already. Those first two at the top. We've got our title, we've got our hymn, we've got the everything about who created it. Okay, so maybe this is the one thing that will be helpful. It will be for you, Christopher. Will be to go through and add, to think about, okay, what does licensing look like for these? Is that something that you can include? And I don't know the specifics on if how you can license these, how they can be used, if they're completely yours to use, or if the military has any sort of say in how these get used. So I don't know if that's a thing to think about, but I would say you probably should include licensing information. And I would maybe try to use some, these things are all kind of running together here: title, artist, edition, medium. I would break those up with some what's the right word, like a soft return.
So hard returns, but
hard return.
OpenSea is funky about that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've used is that vertical spacer is not, so it's not a space, but it's the vertical bar.
Yeah.
And that creates a hard line, whether it's displayed this way or on another platform. It may display differently, but it helps break up the text so you can divide it. Because I've noticed that their spacing is a little funky. And the other thing I would suggest, running through and proofreading these again, I'm just looking at the description on westbound towards the sunset, and I see Pearl Harbor not capitalized, and the 10 o'clock is. So I think there may be some other, just some fine tuning, checking, proofreading everything. But that once it's locked into the blockchain, the nice thing about OpenSea is we can go in and make those corrections.
Yep. Yeah, so that's super cool that we can do that. I'm grateful, and this is a good reminder. I have a bunch of stuff on OpenSea I need to go make some changes to.
I'm sure I do. You know, do as I say, not as I do. I need to proof my stuff again too. I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. So questions. I guess first of all, if we're gonna just talk about, well, he asked, do the pieces fit a curated and cohesive theme? I think the answer is a clear yes.
Yes.
Should any be removed or feel like they don't belong? I don't really think so.
I would still pull the sunset, but what do we get? We get 25 total images. Yeah, that's kind of a tough.
It's a lot.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is you know, so if I was going to try and call, because it's 25 and it's kind of a big group, 2 boats to me. So let's see, 24, my Pinnacle flight, and the single spot. Those 2, the rest of these are sort of over the islands, and those 2 are out over the water.
This one is not as interesting, I think. Number 24.
Yeah. So I think there's an opportunity if you were looking to cull this down to 20. That's 3. Then we could maybe nitpick. I would maybe look at North Shore at sunset, and even leeward sunset. They're both, again, they're beautiful images. They're similar, but once again, you're kind of out over the water. And Assumption of Duty is another one that if you wanted to keep one of the 5 that I just rattled off, you could maybe drop that one instead. But I think the landing strip has some interesting pieces. The waterfall heading into the valley. I think Hawaii Kai overhead, that's a classic area here on Oahu, so that's a beautiful perspective on it. I think Kahului, that's Maui, so that's not even Oahu. And actually, I wonder, Sacred Falls is Maui, I think, as well. So I think the landscapes all fit together. I think it fits as 25, but we have seen smaller collections sometimes do a little bit better, especially more recently. So that might be an opportunity to trim a bit.
Yeah, makes sense to me. The second question was, are there any pieces you would recommend, that you would remove? And we already talked about that.
Just a recommendation, feel free to do what makes sense for your vision as an artist too.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't see that he's in the room here with us. So.
Right. No, he's in the Philippines now.
Oh, cool.
So time zone wise, it's a tough one.
Yeah. Is he still serving military?
Yes, I believe he's still active duty.
Cool. I would love to know. This is such interesting. I'd love to just talk with. I know he's been on Spaces and talked about this, but I want to know more about how this all goes down.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is Ufuk Salur and its cyclical moments. Where'd it go?
Wait, I missed.
I gotta find it.
Yeah, I was just saying.
Maybe I don't have it open.
Oh, I've got it. Yep. Sorry.
Okay, let me get there and open it up.
Somehow, how did we both miss that one when we set this up? Oh, because it comes up as Desolation of a.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, and I do have that.
The URL is Cyclical Moments, but the screen title is not. That's
why. Okay. So we both had to do some Googling when we pulled this one up, and let me just say right off the bat, like this is some really cool imagery. Mm-hmm. I mean, really great work here. And I think that I like there's some thematic things that are moving through here. We see our tiny sliver crescent moon in a few of the shots, which is cool. Big fat moon here. I like that. So let's talk about the theme of this. So the title is Desolation of a
I have no
Monochopsis.
idea.
Monochopsis.
Monochopsis, sure.
Okay. Do you still have that definition pulled up?
I don't, but there is a reference in here because it's the sense of feeling out of place, essentially, and so that's he does have that in the collection description there, and it comes from Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. So there, I've got it pulled up. So the subtle but persistent feeling of being out of place as maladapted to your surroundings as a seal on a beach. So you want to speak my language, just bring me seals on a beach.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the definition of monochopsis as I can find it online.
Okay. So let's dig into this a little bit. I've always lived with the feeling of monochopsis since my childhood. For years, I hit the roads with the thought that I would discover myself, my true self, in one of the other lands. Thus, at every opportunity, I found myself in search of a moment in desolate, remote countries. Just seeing a place was not enough for me. I had to watch it at its best. Then I thought I should reflect on them as well, so I started to capture the moments with photographs. I also started to add something from me to these photos, sometimes a light, sometimes a color. I had to reinforce the feeling that those moments belonged to me. When I look back at these photos, I remember the connection between that place and myself. I see a part of me and us in those frames. As Antonio Tabucci once said, a place is never just that place, because that place is a part of us. This collection is a result of my wish to share this feeling and these captures with people. I think it's a pretty good, it makes sense. I would almost consider, like this seems a little goofy, maybe you don't like this, I would consider defining monochopsis.
Yeah, I mean, we both had to look it up, and
Yeah.
and I could vaguely remember what it was, but I had to pull it back up again to get the exact.
Yeah.
So it's not a term I don't expect most of the audience is going to recognize.
Yeah. So let's take a look at them and see, and I'll just throw right out here. So we've got 10 items, and when I look through here, let's see, we got. Okay, so the titling is they got minted in a different order. So we'll just go ahead and look at them from oldest. So this one's number 3. You've got your description here. Oh, cool. Okay, so looks like each one has its own, kind of walk through what it means. Created by, date, JPEG, dimension, edition, license. So all that detail's there. I'm gonna click on this photo and let's take a look at it because it looks really compelling to me. I love the tonality.
Leading lines always a good thing to pull you into the image.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. So as I'm looking at these, I'll say this right off the top. It bothers me that they don't have their own titles because they seem like they should. They seem so unique that they should have their own titles.
Well, it's interesting. So I'm clicking through some of the others, and once again, we've got the URL at the top is cyclical moments.
Yeah.
Each of these descriptions kind of lead off with that. I don't see what the reference is elsewhere. So I almost want to know why the URL is cyclical moments, and maybe this is a start in one direction with the collection, and then a shift to the monochopsis.
Right. I think that's the thing is it's just a little confusing. I don't think cyclical moment. I don't know what you mean by cyclical moments.
Right.
Like that doesn't make sense. It's not part of the description here. So once again, what Jason just said, it feels like you started calling it one thing and then maybe moved a different direction. I like the feeling. I love this idea of talking about that you captured these beautiful moments, but then you added an element, something that was unique for you. So it becomes kind of a collaboration between you and what you found.
And I think to some extent we all kind of have that sense we don't belong at times, and so I think that's something that a lot of people will be able to connect to. So obviously the imagery is stunning.
Yeah. Do you have any? Is there a sense here that there's any that don't fit?
So it's not so much that they don't fit for me. I do like the frame. So number 2 and number 1, they're different frames, and actually, 7's got that frame too. The one thing when I step back to the whole collection, 4 and 6, while the foreground is different, the sky is such an important piece of both. Those almost seem too similar to me.
I could see that. Yeah.
And even when you look closer at 4, you get the staircase down, so that's kind of a nice leading element. You get the houses kind of on the hills, and then when you go to 6, it's similar. There's not as many houses, but once again, you're out on. Just curious, are they the same location? They look different enough. Yeah, I think it's just different highlands. But those two to me were a little too similar, and I thought, especially when you compare them to the range of images and locations across the rest of the collection, there's 11 items, unless I'm not counting correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, see, I see 10. It says 11, and it says 10 there. Man, I love OpenSea. So yeah,
What
10.
yours says 11?
Yeah, well, it says 11 items.
Well, mine only says 10 items.
No, scroll down just a little, and then right above
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, see, so I just love how
OpenSea.
OpenSea's inconsistent.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if there was really 11, maybe 10's a rounder number, but 10 or 9, I think you could call one of those two. I would probably keep the 4. And then, of course,
Yeah.
the trick is, are any of these sold? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then there's an opportunity to just renumber from there.
Right.
That's kind of nitpicky, but the sky, when you look at the thumbnails, I think the separation between those images isn't as strong as it is from the rest of the collection.
Right. No, that makes sense. I was going to try to see if the artist had any questions. I lost it in the spreadsheet.
See, that's why I let you handle all that.
I confound it's just okay. So the artist had asked your thoughts on my photo stories and the overall story. Your thoughts on my photos. Okay, so yeah, I mean, and then of course there are many ways of telling stories, but I don't want to do it with tragic scenes or scenes that will upset people. I like to tell stories with beautiful colors and happy scenes. What is your opinion on this?
I mean, I think the imagery stands on its own, and I do think the story is there for the collection as a whole, and then the stories are also within each piece. So I think all of that works well.
Yeah. Okay. So and the artist is here in the room. So Ufuk, I'm hopefully I'm saying that right. If you would like to talk, you are welcome to ask us any additional questions. We got some feedback. Oh, you had both of them going at the same time.
There you go. I was just going to say, we've got 2 of Fuxulur. So help us with the pronunciation first.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one to unmute.
Here, you're good. That one worked. Oh, wait. Was that Goon? Sorry.
That was
Yeah,
good.
that's me.
Maybe unmute the other one instead. I can see it. I can see somebody trying.
That's the feedback one.
Well, so I think what's going on is one of the devices is playing the noise into the microphone on the other. So it may be that he needs to mute the laptop and/or whichever one's projecting into the mic.
I'm not sure if he's there though.
Yeah. Oh well.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead. If you're able to jump in, Ufuk, maybe drop a comment if you want, if we can get this to work. Oh, hello.
Hello.
We got you.
My English is very bad.
So is mine. Let's talk. Did you have any other questions?
I need translator.
Oh, what language?
Yes,
What language?
Turkish.
Okay. Do we have any Turkish photographers here that can translate today? I'll let anybody who can raise your hand. Let us know. Mention it in the chat if you can.
Beytullah. Uh,
Yeah, I'm not getting a response. I don't think Beytullah is there.
Oh, there's Nimit. Oh yeah, that's too bad.
Nimit is typing. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I saw that, but was making a reference to.
Okay. Okay. Well,
okay, thank you.
No, thank you for being here, and thank you for submitting your imagery. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Jason, why don't we? Do you have any other feedback on this one before we move on?
No, I don't. I think again the imagery is just really beautiful. So just kind of nitpicky on that one that you could maybe cull, but otherwise I think it's all there. And like we said, maybe a better explanation of monochopsis so that the audience understands what we're working with.
Yeah. Okay. Well, our next one is Colors of the Mountain, and it's hot. Oh man, I'm getting mad at Discord because it keeps untagging people every time I go in and make any edits to the list. So, Colors of the Mountain. We'll just pull that up and look. And I'm just going to click on one so we can see. Oh, that doesn't help me. Let's see. What do we have? Do we have an artist name here? Hatis Akul. I'm going to go with that. Also from Turkey. So let's look at this one. So right as soon as we pull this up, I mean, there's so many great images in this.
Yeah.
In this one. I'll just go ahead and read this. My collection, Colors of the Mountain, is a collection that encapsulates my travels, feelings, and experiences. It's composed of 8 unique images that are all taken over the past 5 years. Dolomites, Italy, Val Funes, Italy, Karatza Lake, Italy, Matterhorn, Switzerland, Versinik Mountain, Turkey. As long as I knew, I've always been happy to be in nature and to see myself as a part of it. I prefer to highlight this love in my shoots. Dramatic wide-angle landscape and star shots with a focus on light and color create the main shooting position. I shoot mostly at sunrise and sunset. In general, what I try to do in my photos is to reveal the unique beauty of nature. Artist Hatis Akul. I'm from Turkey. I'm a Turkish woman landscape photographer. My style is different other woman landscape photographer because I like to take photo from mountain and mist sea areas. Taking photos from mountain is not easy, but it is my passion. So
Passion, probably.
Passion, yeah, passion. Okay, so I love it. Okay, so we have a woman photographer here. This is great. We just don't get a lot of women landscape photographers, and so I love that. I'm stoked about that. So right off the bat, looking through here, my favorite one in here is already purchased by somebody else. It's in the Whiskey Vault. And man, that's super cool, right? Look at that. Gotta pull that one up. Beautiful.
Toblerone, yeah. Yeah, I recognized the spot. It just didn't jump out right away, but that is the Matterhorn, yeah.
Oh, look at this. Different, same location, totally different time of day.
Right. Ordinarily, I'd get a little hesitant, but there's such different images that I think they work here.
Yeah, this is really beautiful. Yeah, so I think if we're kind of looking through here, I mean, it's really clear what we're looking at in terms of the collection and what you're focusing on here. Colors of the Mountains, right? What do you think about the collection as a cohesive group, Jason?
I think it's really well put together. It's interesting that the descriptions kind of pull some storytelling through too. So you get the Dolomites with a reference to Gandalf. You get another one that the title pulls back Tolkien as well. The Tolkien's Mount Doom. So I think it's a good combination of the images and the storytelling tying the pieces together. Obviously, I think English as a second language here. I think there are some edits, some proofreading that could be done. But I think there's good effort on the stories here.
Yeah.
I really there's a lot of information for collectors to find and connect with.
Yeah, I agree. Lots of great information here. I like to see all the information in the description.
Yep.
I just a little thing you could add, Hatis, maybe to add some of the details to these in properties. Could make it a little more interesting. I'll say this as well. I think that adding the properties, it makes for a more interesting looking listing as well. It makes people go, oh, what is this stuff? What does this mean? And adding those extra details it helps add to your story a little bit.
Sure.
In terms of like, I feel like these make sense. Like this colors of the mountain makes sense. These are all mountain shots. They're super interesting. You've got a bunch of really great vibrant colors. I like the descriptions. Yeah.
I mean, really, from my perspective, I don't have any critique that I can add other than, I think the proofreading is just to just clean some of that up, on the overall collection description to get that squared away. And then some of the individual descriptions, there might be a few things that could be cleaned up in there as well.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, I really don't have. These are amazing frames. There's not one I would tighten up. There's no colors that I would play with.
I want to know how in the world you got the depth of field so big in this one. Gotta be focus stacked. Wow.
Well, that might be something to talk about in the description because, man, you and I know how much work that is.
Yeah.
I mean, the image size is massive too, so that all lends to the idea that it's stacked.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one thing that's a little bit interesting on this one. I think it's really beautiful, but there's one thing that kind of is a little odd, and this is why I wonder if it was stacked, if there's something going on. Look up in this corner, and not to be too nitpicky because I think it's a beautiful image, but it gets soft from here on out, and I'm seeing some kind of artifacting, which leads me to believe maybe it was a focus stack. Because look at how this is completely in focus right here, but then right here is kind of blurry.
Your eyes are better than mine. Those mountains
it's just because I drew this.
So you're looking into trees, yeah.
Oh, but then interesting because look at this. Look how it's a little blurry right up here, but then look the reflection. The reflection is tack sharp right there.
Oh yeah. Okay, I see it. Wow.
But man, this is a beautiful image.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if it might. The problem is I like this corner down here, but you could almost crop it right in here, or maybe reprocess the focus stack. But that's really cool. I'm a little I'm nervous to ask if our artist is here in the room. Looks like she is.
Oh yeah.
We're not having great luck with the translating thing today. So Hatis, are you here and can you talk with us?
Which username is it?
It's Hatis. It's Hatice. Ghoul photo. Hatis. Ghoul photo.
Yeah.
Hey, there she is.
Ya konuşamayacağım düzgün çünkü.
Oh, I don't think we have anybody who can translate in Turkish today.
Şey diyor galiba.
Okay, well, we don't have a translator today, unfortunately. Hatis, I'm hopefully you can get this part translated. This is absolutely gorgeous work, and I'm super excited there. Meta girl, I see you talking or trying to say something maybe.
Oh. I actually was on direct message with you for but I didn't have anything to add. I was seeing if I could maybe tag somebody and bring them in to translate.
If you get them, we have a little bit of room, so we can always come back and talk to our Turkish friends if we get somebody.
Okay, I will see what I can if I can find somebody.
Okay, great. So let's keep talking about this collection though. So absolutely gorgeous work there. I want to look at a couple of these other ones and see. Yeah, like so this is really, really beautiful. Love all the detail here. Yeah. I also love that it's not over processed. It feels dark where it's supposed to be dark. And I think it's the temptation is to just crank up the highlights through here and boost the shadows. And I like that it's still dark.
Yep.
And the light is coming from up here, and it feels like it has dimensionality. I like that.
There's some little waves up in the clouds in the top right corner too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Just great texture. Are there any other things that you'd want to say about this one?
No, I mean, I think really for me it's just proofreading and otherwise this is just fantastic.
Yeah. From a proofreading standpoint, I like to have you either choose to go all caps on the letters or I prefer. I think titles should have caps. Moon was overnight phenomenon. I think those should all be caps.
Yeah. Title case on those. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that it's all uppercase, but that you capitalize every first letter. I think that makes more sense. Like
right. Yeah.
Like this one here. Colors of the mountain. Of and the shouldn't be capitalized, but mountain should be. Stormages. Right. That's from Magnificent. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, why don't we move on? I think our next one, let me just double check, should be Cosmin Stan. And let's see if I've got that. I think I have it pulled up in a different order. What was the...
See, I got a nice order, and then you're going to mess me up.
The Greatness of Nature. This is
the one I have. Yeah.
This is the one I added at the end. Yeah. Okay. So this is Greatness of Nature, and I'll just say right off the bat because we can see the purple ETH, which means that this one's on Polygon. And as soon as I saw this imagery, I was like, oh man, we got to include this. This is really beautiful work. Looks like we have we've had one piece sold out of this one here. And let's look at the description here. Collection size 10 NFTs, edition size 1 of 1. The Greatness of Nature is a collection of 10 1 of 1 NFTs by photographer Cosmin Stan. You look around and the greatness of nature overwhelms you. Breathe the green of the firs and their vigor is transmitted to you. Nature. What could be more beautiful than that? This collection contains images made in the mountainous areas of Romania. The photos were taken in the last 9 years in the following mountain groups: Apuseni Mountains, Retezat National Park, Surian, Perang. Through these images, I want to show how wonderful and grandiose nature is by presenting it in an artistic way. We as human beings must take care of it and protect it as much as possible. These images for me mean purity, love for nature, for the environment. Man's footprint on nature and the environment is growing. Photos say more than words, and nature is a more talented artist than man. I invite you to discover the greatness of nature. It's a very fitting collection description for today, which is Earth Day.
Right.
Except for in Australia where it's tomorrow. All right. So let's take a look at these. There's some really beautiful imagery in here. I'm going to start with the one that's already sold. Really cool up close, kind of almost macro shot of ice. It's really interesting. Got a really thorough story here and license. All the stuff is here. which is great. It was only sold 13 days ago, so relatively new new artist here, and it looks like it has an attached file that's big for the person who bought it, which is cool. Let's look through here and see a couple of these. Avalanche of Clouds. This has some of the similar vibes to that drone shot we saw earlier in that first collection.
Yeah. Great detail.
Oh, I love the texture. I love the just this kind of the ethereal nature of that. It's really beautiful. This is really, really beautiful. What's super interesting to me is that this being here in the Pacific Northwest, that reminds me of Mount St. Helens here in just across the border in Washington. Looks like a very similar sort of formation, like a big crater of a blown out volcano. I don't know if that's what it is, but look at the details on this. Look at that foreground. Look at these beautiful flowers. That holds up really well.
Yes.
And in terms of our descriptions, we've got all this stuff here, which is great, just like we had seen before.
You know what's great about these? This is something that I do too. So we've got the story, we've got the edition, we've got the license, all the key details. But then each image has the bio, and I think the placement below the edition, or the licensing is fine. I might have put it above the licensing and put the licensing last, but it's great to have that bio tied to each of these pieces.
Yeah. This is one of the most long, detailed description I've ever seen on an NFT.
It's good though. I mean,
Yeah,
that follows it everywhere it goes.
Yeah, I think
So
it's
now,
great.
again, you've mentioned this before, but there is the opportunity to put some of this into the properties too.
Yes.
Which I haven't done on my pieces, but I think with the amount of detail that's here, those properties could be robust.
Yeah, exactly. There go my dogs announcing that the FedEx guy's here. I'm going to step away and go grab that really quick because they'll just keep barking otherwise.
So, the other interesting thing I found looking at this collection is typically I would have had a reaction to the mix of black and white and color. And in this case, I don't actually have a challenge with that. Obviously, the first one that sold is the Bergen Wing shot, and that's a black and white. But the greatness of the mountain with the wind blowing over top, I think that the lines on that really look great. And then the amazing ice image. You know, there are two images that I sort of felt might be a little out of place. The ice, it's not so much the black and white as much as it's a little different than the mountain scenes of most of the rest of these images. And the other one for me is the late autumn. So even the waterfall image sort of is still a mountain scene, but this misty tree image just felt a little bit out of place here.
Yeah, I can see that. If I were going to kind of get nitpicky, I would say I think these two maybe are a little too similar. Number 7 and number 9.
Yeah, there's some similarities to those two frames.
And I think, to me at least, I think, let me look at them up close. I always want to look and see, you know, like that's pretty interesting. It's got these really, really interesting colors. This one's pretty cool too, but I think number 9 is probably stronger.
Yeah, the light rays in 9. I mean, I like Valleys in the Mountains. I think it would end up somewhere. But if you were gonna tighten it up a little bit, that's another one that you'd have some flexibility there.
Yeah, like a tighter crop like this might make more sense. But that's artistic, right? Overall, I think this is a really good collection. I think like what you said, I think that there's these grander, larger scale scenes. I think work better together. And then as beautiful as this is, I don't know that it quite works that well with the other shots. I think these two kind of work well together, right?
Yeah.
And maybe
No, I mean you could really, rather than the grand frames, you could pull those two into a different collection that are more detail focused. And again, the Amazing Ice image is the other one to me that it's a great detail shot, but it's a tight frame where the rest of the shots are sort of grander in scope.
I really like this one.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, I'm not sure if you heard me. I was saying typically my reaction to a mix of color and black and white would be, oh, maybe you want to lean one or the other. But I thought the two black and whites there still fit with the rest of those images.
Yeah.
And then the ice one, maybe not because of the black and white, but more because of the tight focus.
I'd love to see a whole collection of work like this.
Yeah, no, I think they definitely belong out there. It's just maybe not in this particular collection.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really beautiful work. I'm happy I got to take a one last pass at the list and got to include this one. It's beautiful. Let me look and see if there was any feedback they were looking for. So, what do you think about the collection? Images stand out. We already answered that. Is it okay that the collection has been on Polygon? So that was the only. Okay, so there is a. What's the right word for it? There's a stigma, I think, in the NFT world that Polygon is not a great place to, that there's a smaller audience because our collectors don't typically buy stuff there. And I think a lot of us have loads of Polygon crap in our hidden part of our wallets because it's, it's super cheap to do things there because there's no mint fees. I don't know. What do you think, Jason? I see beautiful work all the time on Polygon, but I have heard so many bad things about Polygon that I've always been reluctant to use it.
Yeah, and I've been reluctant to use it too because there are, rumors or whatever of some of the scammy things happening through Polygon, and I'm not sure what the advantage is. I guess there's some environmental impact that's offset a little bit with Polygon. But yeah, for me, I think more people are collecting on ETH, so that's where I would be. Although, that's hilarious. I just realized that the Amazing Ice is the one that's already sold.
Oh yeah.
And so I was just gonna say, there's one that's sold already, and that's it. Armand picked that one up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I thought the one that had sold already was Broken Wings. I think when I sorted it, I mixed that up.
Oh yeah. Well, so here's from what I've gathered, using Polygon is still Ethereum, but is it Ethereum but like in a wrapper? Is that how it works?
I'm not 100%, but I have heard from other artists that they went to Polygon to reduce the environmental impact. I'm just not sure exactly how it does.
Yeah, well, I know that it. I'm pretty sure it's like what's happening is like Polygon it's a bunch of stuff happening. Like I'm probably talking out of my butt here, but what I gathered is that it's the Polygon. It's like a side blockchain of Ethereum where you're dealing with Ethereum, but it's not actually writing stuff to the same Ethereum blockchain.
Right.
And that you use the Ethereum to get in, and then you use Ethereum when you get back out. But all the stuff that happens on Polygon is not on the Ethereum blockchain. So it doesn't there's no gas fees because you're not actually writing the block to the main Ethereum, to the main net.
Right. Okay. I think you're right.
So yeah, so there's no gas fees. I think there's gas fees like transferring into Polygon, maybe. But not for normal transactions.
Yeah, it goes through Matic. I have minted one thing on Polygon, so I think instead of gas, it's a Matic transaction. So I think that may be exactly what it is. But yeah, I'm not 100%.
Yeah. So somebody smarter than us
There's a few of those people out there.
can speak to that. But here's kind of this is the rub. I'll say it. You, as an artist, you have to decide where to put your art based on where the collectors are. If you mint them on Polygon, the reality is that a lot of collectors are just they're never going to see it, and they're not going to consider it. And here's why: if you don't have Polygon, if you're not on Polygon, you can't buy this art. So you have to already be there. You already have to have a wallet with money there. And I think that's kind of the point, is that artists.
I mentioned something because it was one of the first people that I had met in this space, and it was a lot of work, and the artist had to work with me, get it all done, and I think that's what creates a challenge for collectors on Polygon.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I noticed in the chat, it looks like we have. Let's see if he's here. Yeah, I know Sirhat said he could, but it doesn't. But it doesn't look like he's here in the room with us.
Well, no,
he is. No, he is. So Sirhat,
Yes, I am here.
Hey, hello. We had two different Turkish artists that we were hoping you might be able to translate a little bit for.
Start with
Okay, I'll try to do my best for you and my Turkish friends.
Yeah. Who was the first one, Jason? I don't remember.
Ufuk first, and then Hatice.
Yeah. So Ufuk, if you're here and you'd like to talk, if you had any additional
Buradaysan
questions.
senin için çeviri yapabilirim.
Buradayım. Hatice var abi orada, Serhat abi.
Serhat, sesim geliyor mu abi?
Heh. Evet geliyor tamam.
Ufuk da
Senin için
var.
çeviri yapabilirim. Tamam.
Hatice ve Ufuk var, onlar için.
Tamam ben yardımcı olacağım.
Tabii abi, benim direkt zor girdi soru da.
Tamam ben sorayım. Yani ne soruyorlarsa ben sana çevireyim, ileteyim.
Abi monochopsis'i sordu direkt. Ben İngilizce kötü zaten.
Tamam ben şimdi şey yapsınlar, sorsunlar, çevirelim. Then Jason, if you have any question to him, and I can ask to him.
I think we were going to ask him if he has two separate titles. He has the Desolation of a Monochopsis, but then he also has this, cyclical moment. And cyclical moment is the collection name. Did he change it somewhere in the middle and just not line them up? Or are they related?
Şimdi
Efendim?
bir Desolation of a Monochopsis diye bir başlık kullanmışsın.
Evet.
Aşağıda açıklamalarda ve linkte de var. Bak linke dikkat edersen cyclical moments yazıyor. Sen başlığı sonradan değiştirdin mi?
Evet.
Tamam, onu merak ediyorlardı.
Aslında satışa çıkarmadan değiştirdim ben onu ama
onu tekrar sen düzelt.
Nasıl düzelteceğimi bilmiyorum ki abi. Onu yapamadım yani.
Ben sana yardımcı olurum.
Tamam.
Sen bunu sonradan mı değiştirdin, bu hale getirdin, yoksa başta yaparken linkle başlığı dikkat etmeden aynısını mı yazdın?
İlk koleksiyonu oluştururken Cyclical Moments diye başlamıştım. Sonra bu isim daha güzel geldi.
Tamam.
Satışa çıkarmadan da buna geçirdim ismi aslında.
Tamam. He says that before the listing those photos, when he first edited his collection, he named the collection as Cyclical Moments, but then he found that name, Desolation of a Monochopsis, and then he edited his collection and changed this name. But I said that the name in the link and in the description of each photo must be same with the title of that collection. I will help him to change this because he says that I don't know how can I change it. I will help him about that.
Oh, great. Thank you. Good. Tell him we love his work. It's beautiful.
Yes. Absolutely.
Ufuk, fotoğraflarını çok beğendiklerini söylüyorlar. Çok iyiymiş diyor. Ben anlattım bu değişikliği falan, sana yardımcı olacağımı söyledim.
Teşekkür ederim. Bir de bir tane
Rica
fotoğraf
ederim. Buyur.
Şey demişti ama bu koleksiyonun şeyinde diye dışarıda gibi biraz, yani koleksiyona bağlı değil gibi. Hangisi olduğunu
Tamam.
anlayamadım da onun.
Tamam. Then Jason, he also says that you said that one of the photos is unrelated with the whole collection, but he couldn't understand which one do you talking about. Can you show it again?
Jason, do you
Give me a second. I've got to get back to.
we talked about the two Milky Way shots, right?
Yeah, I think that was it, right? It wasn't that they didn't fit. It's that they're similar. Yeah. So number 6 and number 4.
Okay, you said those are similar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So the rest of the collection kind of stands on its own, and they're all very unique images. Those two with the houses on the highlands and the Milky Way in the sky being such a dominant piece, I thought you could potentially remove one of those and tighten the collection up a little.
Okay, I'm just telling to him. Ufuk diyorlar ki hani koleksiyonun bütünü güzel, birbiriyle uyumlu. Yalnız bu iki tane Samanyolu fotoğrafı birbirine benzer. Onlardan birini tercih edersen daha iyi olur diyorlar. Hani ikisi benzer gibiler. Bir tanesini
Aynen.
çıkarabilirsin.
Muhtemelen aynı fotoğraftır o. Zaten
Tamam,
açıklamalarda belirttim ben onu da. Açıklamalarda tekil hikayeleri var zaten hepsinin de.
Tamam. Sen şey yaparsın, bunu değiştirirsin, bunun yerine başka fotoğraf eklersin.
Tabii. Teşekkür ederim.
Rica ederim.
That's great.
Yes, I told him
Okay.
about your comments.
Great. Would you just tell him thanks for submitting, and we can move on to the next person?
Okay. Katıldığın için teşekkür ediyorlar Ufuk. I think
Ben
you
teşekkür
also
ederim.
have Hatice. She needs translation maybe.
Yeah, the other person was
Hatis.
yeah. Hatis, and we had covered
Hatice.
her. Hatice, is that how you say it?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. This is the exact name.
And that was this one. And does she have any questions? We love her work, but we'd love to know if she has any questions.
Hatice Hanım burada mısınız?
Hello, I'm here. Evet, buradayım.
Tamam.
Merhaba. Merhaba Serhat,
Merhaba.
teşekkürler. Hello.
Koleksiyonunun bütününü beğenmişler. Bir sorun var mı diye soruyorlar.
Thank you.
Baş-
I have not any question. Thank you for
Oh,
support.
okay. Thank you. We appreciate you submitting. It's beautiful work.
Thank you. Glad you like it. Your like. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess we're good there then. Serhat, thank you for helping.
You're welcome. Whenever you need, you can call me.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Serhat.
You're welcome.
Okay, so which one were we on, Jason? I got lost here. Oh, greatness of nature. We had.
Yes, I think we were just wrapping that one up.
We just wrapped
and
that
then
one
we
up.
went
Okay.
to the
Yeah. So let's let me get to next one. I'm just super disorganized today. Sorry about that. AMA live. Gotta
I
get back
think
to
it's
that.
the New Zealand landscape images.
Yes. We're getting close to the end here. All right. So this is these are really beautiful. Manoj Kesavan. Hopefully I'm saying that right. That's a cool name. New Zealand-based scientist and photographer. Let's dig in. This series features some of my published work from 2012 to 2018. All of the images are one-of-one pieces. I am Manoj Kesavan, a New Zealand-based scientist and photographer. We've got a email there, or a website, published in Astronomy Magazine, Universe Today, Space.com, etc. I'm an empirical enthusiast, always fascinated by the meaning of life. We've got a license information here about the collection. And let's just take a look at these. So the first thing I saw when we pulled this up is I saw one of these and I just was like, oh, that's cool. We gotta look at that. This one here. I'm always fascinated by this stuff. And like, look at this description. You got a full-on We've got a great name for it. We've got a full description of what we're looking at, which is great. We've got our license included. We've got a little bio about the photographer. I don't see anything missing. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you know, I like to put the edition down. So for me, I like to put the edition as a 1/1 NFT.
Yep.
And tie that directly to the image. And you could always put, you know, some of the other things that are in the AMA chat already from the MetaJungle team, but like location and date, all of that information is good to include here. And you can also do the properties to capture some of that if you don't want to drop it all into the image description itself.
Yeah, I agree. Properties is even better than putting it in the description. I'd really dig it. Okay, so this is cool. I love just the super vibrant colors. It has a very like Velvia Kodachrome sort of a vibe to it, which is cool. Got some long exposures here, some dunes, some misty, foggy conditions, Milky Way, super wide angle of mountains. Not what I think of when I think of New Zealand.
It's really an interesting landscape over there. So just looking at Emerald Lakes as a contrast. So when I sorted by oldest, that I think is the oldest in the collection. That was actually the first one that I opened up when you were jumping to
Sure.
geothermal pool. But notice that here it's just the title and location and then the bio. So I think the description on the other piece is a compelling story. I'd like to see each of these pieces have those stories developed.
Look at how many people are down here at this pool. That's pretty cool. Maybe not cool. Maybe there's too many people there. But
Yeah, little ants on the hill.
yeah, popular destination though. Yeah, I would say go through and you want to include more detail. I like the idea of having detail about exactly what we're looking at. Even more.
That first one you opened has everything you want.
Yep.
But as I jump through these, I think that's the only one that has that lengthy description.
This one has a pretty decent size one here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, it's a telescope. Okay, radio telescope. I like this. I think, okay, so if I were going to kind of get nitpicky about it, what I would maybe think about is this is a pretty big collection. And I think perhaps as much as I like these night photos, I don't know that to me, they're not quite as compelling. Like this is cool because this almost feels like documentary work. Like this one here. You know, these feel a little bit like this is interesting. This is an interesting view because it's not something you normally see.
Yeah, I had sort of the same response. There's two and so one is photographer under the Milky Way, and the other is photographer camping under the stars. And so to me, while one's the vertical and one's you know, a different frame, I thought those were a little too similar.
And I'm just gonna nerd out and say that I love seeing Milky Way shots from the other side of the planet.
Right.
Because it's all upside down to what I'm used to seeing. You can see the Rho Upiuchi complex in Antares over here on the opposite side of what we're used to seeing in the Northern Hemisphere. Pretty cool. I really like this one too. And the reason I like it is because it's so not the normal Milky Way shot.
And nice shadows.
Yeah, and this is all obviously like moonlight lighting this up, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Or some kind of light pollution, but it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice. Beautiful frame, and there you go. You've got the reference to Lord of the Rings here too. So this is the actual Mount Doom.
Yeah.
So that's another one with a good description there to put you into place.
Yeah. I think not the same mountain, but just further away. Well, okay, so let's get a little bit into this. I think what I would probably do with this collection is I would think about if it's maybe a little too big, and if I would try to tighten it up thematically. Some of the things in here, like I like the nightscapes, but I feel like this one makes sense because it has some context. This one, I don't know that it's that strong because this is not a super. Let's look at the description, but yeah, there's literally nothing here about where it is. It's just, hey, we have a photographer under the Milky Way. I don't know that that says New Zealand landscape images to me because it's not really about the landscape. And so I would say maybe this one doesn't fit. I think this one might get a pass because it's you can maybe get one in the collection, but I think this one's probably not needed. I think also like this is interesting because you've got your flare here, and I think it'd be interesting to talk about it. To me, that looks like an iridium flare, maybe not a meteor, but I could be wrong. Super interesting, but also not really about the landscape, and so it doesn't really fit the collection per se. And I wonder if you mentioned that you're a night photographer and you're into astro. I almost think you have enough pieces here you could begin to put together a night photography. And I'm guessing you have a lot more than these, but 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4, 5 of them right in this collection, and this one is also night too. So you've got 5, and this one too. My gut would be maybe you have a different collection for night, and that you lean more closely into New Zealand landscapes on this one, on this collection. What do you think?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out whether all of these were night shots, because
Which one are you looking at? Like this one here is probably night as well.
I think a couple are definitely day. But Lake Taupo in central North Island, New Zealand, that's the pier. I think that's still a night shot, even though it's really bright.
You see some stars up there, maybe?
Yeah, I think that that's the only way that long exposure works is if it's at night.
Or
I think
double stacking 10
yeah.
NDs.
Yeah. I'd be curious if the Champagne Pool shot is a night shot. I don't think it is.
Huh.
It is interesting because I think you're right that there's a lot of night shots in this group, and I think some could stay in this collection while the night sky shots might work as their own.
Yeah. Well, and I think overall, what I'm looking at here is if we're going to try to give you advice on how to get this to be super compelling, I feel like it's not what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of stuff that's not landscape, and you said it's landscapes. But I feel like these landscapes work, and when you talk about where they are, when you give descriptions about where you are and where these things are located, I think that makes it compelling. It makes it fit the collection. To me, camping, photographer under the stars, those aren't landscape shots, and this one as well. But they really very well could be part of a night sky collection, the night skies of New Zealand. You know, that could be compelling. Like this is really a beautiful Milky Way. But and as much as you can say, hey, it's over Mountain Doom, I don't know that's super identifiable.
Right, I'd agree.
In a way that would make people go, oh, I have to have that. It's Milky Way over Mountain Doom. I don't see it as being really compelling. Let me see what we've got in terms of questions. So let's see if we've got. I'm going to look in here in my spreadsheet. See if I can find it. Did you have any other thoughts while I'm looking for that?
No, I think that's pretty well. Again, I think with 20 items in this collection, there are a few that we could tighten up. So, even though the pier, like you said, the pier to me didn't fit in a landscape theme.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think there's a few of these that we could trim down. Even a moody beach, that's another. These are not necessarily. It's not that there's anything wrong with the image. It's that I'm not sure it fits with the landscape theme.
Yeah. Okay. So he did say I'm assuming I didn't pick that part up, but the question number one, please give me a brutally honest opinion on the quality of the images. This one, the horizon's crooked, and I would fix that if I were you.
Yeah.
Just little stuff like that. But you asked, so I'm I'm giving the here's my thought is a lot of these are really good. And I think what your biggest job as a photographer is to learn how to curate your own work and to really think about if I'm going to present it, is it really ready for prime time? To me, like that's little. This is actually a really compelling, interesting image. It doesn't say New Zealand to me. And when I pull it up and look at it, I'm like, okay, there is no description about where this is located or why it's special. And it's slightly crooked. This one, mountain, also now, Milky Way over the mountain. Okay, great, but you've got, it's not identifiable that the mountain's there. In fact, you also have, like, this is super cool. You've got Milky Way over here. And that's a way more identifiable version of the mountain, right? So I think it's a matter of curation. It's a matter of pulling out some of these that maybe don't fit as well. But I don't think that you have there's not a quality problem here necessarily. Any other thoughts you have?
I think that pretty well sums it up.
Okay. And I didn't know if our artist is here in the room with us. It is.
Don't see him, and I would think that this is like Tim.
Super early.
Time zone issue.
It's super early there. Okay. Well, let's move on. We've got two more. So Ricardo is our next one. And his is this one here.
Piece by piece.
Ricardo Braz, piece by piece. The description, the name piece by piece came to me when designing the mosaic for this collection. As I dragged the images to a blank canvas, piece by piece, I relived every single one of these moments as if I were there again. These 30 unique pieces are the result of all my work from the past years as a travel photographer and my adventures around the world. It also represents not only minimalism as in photography, but a way of living where less is more and life is more simple. One of one editions. And he's got a link to it on Cyber Gallery. And I just heard my Discord beeping at me, so I'm making sure that's not somebody pinging me in the chat. Nope. Okay. So looking at this particular collection, when we pulled up this work, I'm just going to say I was kind of blown away by the quality here. And I'm just going to say right off the top there's 3.9 ETH traded in this collection already. So there are already quite a few pieces. I'll scroll to the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 pieces are sold out of this collection already. The biggest reason why we decided to include it is because kind of what he was asking for is like, I sold a bunch and then it just kind of stopped. It got stagnant. It hasn't had any motion in a while. And while I see really compelling imagery here, I feel like there maybe is some good feedback we can give for this as a collection. Jason, do you want to start this one off maybe?
Well, it's interesting because you point out how many pieces are sold, and so my immediate reaction is we're looking at a collection of 30, and I think that's one of the challenges this year. I think last year some of these bigger collections had a run at times, and so I immediately want to look at how to thin this collection down. The challenge is, there's some piece by piece. They're very different from each other. So there are pieces that I would immediately jump to and say, oh, maybe we could pull this one out. But the trick is a lot of them have sold.
Right.
So I don't, it's tough because beautiful images individually, but I don't really get a sense of cohesion from the collection then would attract collectors to come in and buy the other pieces.
Right.
So I don't know whether there are certain images, like for instance, obviously, number 30, which is the monkey, the snow monkey, I think. I might have pulled that one, but it's sold already. And so then I look at, oh, and they're number 2.
Right.
Wow. So the fact that 30 is sold already sort of prevents you from culling.
Well, does it though? I mean, these are the things you have to kind of work through. Is like, do you care?
Yeah.
Do collectors actually do they care? And I know I've heard some collectors say yes, they do. But I've also heard other people say I don't care about your numbering, and I've also heard other people say maybe don't number your pieces,
Right.
so you don't run
Yeah.
into the problem.
This is a good warning there, because if the first one you sell is number 30, number 50 in a collection, then you're kind of, it's going to be there. It's always going to stay there.
Yeah.
I mean, the images are so amazing that I really feel like this could have been at least 2 or 3 collections that were more cohesive.
What is happening here? My OpenSea is crapping out.
Slope and see.
Okay.
We love slope and see.
Just pulled over a sidebar I'd never seen before. Oh, come on.
Well, so I mean, I've got them sorted oldest, and what's interesting is you get sundown and balance pop up side by side. When you sort them that way, those 2 images, one is sold, one is not, and they're very similar. So it's not that 16 couldn't stand somewhere else. And even you've got some other thematic pieces with those discs, right? So 23 Cerro and 24 Tikal. So it's tough to manage now.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you and I both had that same reaction. Because they're numbered, because so many have sold, it becomes a tricky thing of like, well, okay, do you manage this, or do you just, or do you move on?
I mean, at 3.9 in sales is fantastic. So, ultimately, this is a collection that represents potentially Ricardo's initial foray into NFTs, right? So
Right.
maybe you just leave it. And this is the Genesis collection, piece by piece, of his work at 30. And start to look at how to make smaller, cohesive collections that are tied together. Let this one continue to stand as the original collection. And promote new work and promote who you are as an artist, and then occasionally you can pull one of these up and say, hey, this is from my original Genesis collection, and it's still out there and it's still available.
So speaking of Ricardo as an artist, let's just go look around and see what else he's got. So piece by piece, but then we also have, I'm just going to look at a different collection. Endless Sunset, 1.8 volume traded. Also super compelling work, right? And very, very cohesive.
What's interesting is there are those big discs again, and 19 of the images in here too. Yeah, I mean.
So here's, I guess, maybe what I would get at is, this is super interesting. It's really beautiful work. The other one, and wait, before I move on, 19 items. I mean, that's a fairly large size. Ricardo, if I had any advice to you, it'd be maybe be doing smaller collections. At this kind of a price point at 0.25, like realistically, if you could do a set of like 12, you might have an easier time selling it out. And I think while these are all super compelling and really beautiful, maybe there's a couple that are, gosh, I don't even know that there's anything I would pick out of here. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a cohesive theme and something was jarring because it didn't fit, but because the concept was piece by piece, I think he's selected 30, let's call him 30 of his favorite images over his career, and he's put them here. I think they're all unique. They're all strong. I might have looked at Sundown and some of the others being in the Endless Sunsets collection, but get sales in both of them, and it's hard to quibble with 3.9 in one and 1.8 in the other. I think yeah, going forward, I would probably try to be more targeted. I'm obviously Endless Sunset has a very cohesive theme, so that has worked. And of course, looking at activity. So I know another one we started with. That's actually this one hasn't sold in 3 months either. So both of these did well months ago, and I think it's a question of how to get it jump started. And so for me, certainly I've got a variety of different work on different platforms, and of course I can't tell if Ricardo has some work on another platform here too.
I'm looking.
But 2 on cyber galleries. I think the marketing is all here, and so for me moving forward, I would try to tighten up the theme and maybe work with a smaller group. And hell, we're looking at 0.25 on these Endless Sunsets and this collection too. You almost could do a smaller collection and push your price point up.
So here's his foundation work. And so I think that the reality is he does have these one-of-ones, but I don't know that if I look at these, look at what we're seeing here, like this is not any less work than what these pieces are similar to what's in his OpenSea stuff priced at 0.25.
Now, are any of the foundation pieces sold?
Yes.
Okay.
Looks like he's sold one to Vince here, to Cactux. And then there's one more here that was sold for 1.5. So this is not an artist who doesn't know how to sell work.
No, right. Definitely has the sales there.
Okay, so to answer the questions, because what he asked about, it's the collection has been stagnated for a couple months. The collection is strong. I would slightly disagree with you. I think that part of the issue here is that it's not. It's that the collection is actually not that strong. It's just full of really beautiful images.
Right. No. I meant the work is strong. You're right.
The work is very strong. I think the collection is maybe the downfall here, and that's why it's not moving. These all feel like standalone foundation pieces to me. These all feel like really, really epic, beautiful work that they could all kind of stand alone on their own. So that's that's some feedback. Hopefully that's helpful. I don't know if Ricardo is here with us in the room.
I don't see him.
Okay. Yeah, but so do you want to move on? We've got one more to cover.
Is he here yet?
It doesn't look like he joined us.
I'm not surprised.
It's super early. I think
and like I said, he had a late night. He had a late night celebrating with that super rare auction running.
Yeah. So another artist who, in a lot of ways, doesn't really, I would say maybe doesn't need a lot of guidance here because things are super. This stuff is super compelling. It's really beautiful. But this is Timbo Slice. Let's look at the description here. This is a collection on Foundation. Ocean and Earth is an exclusive one-of-one collection that embodies moments of the ocean from the unique perspectives of aerial photography. Each piece has been carefully curated to display the ocean in its most purest form. I want you to find something new each time you look at the scenes, as if you were there in the water.
Yeah, my biggest issue with this collection is I can't afford it. These are really some amazing pieces, and you get the one piece that's gone to Natura, which is the solo whale shot. The deep impact. Every time I see that shot, and I know there's some work, he does a lot of really nice editing work, and so he's created this eye in the center of the image. It really good descriptions there. Obviously Foundation has some limitations on character limits, so there's some licensing stuff that I'd like to see. But these are well put together, and it's a nice cohesive collection too.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of, I'm going to jump in a little bit to what Tim's asking about. So he said, hey, I'm Tim. I'm an Aussie firefighter and drone photographer. I'd love an outsider review of my prize collection. They've been live for 2 months, are very well received online, but aren't quite gaining as much traction as I was expecting. So I'm going to give some context here that Tim is currently in the middle of having bids on work on Super Rare. So it's not that people aren't finding the work. It's just that they're not finding and buying this particular work. Does that sound like an accurate description? Jason?
Yes. Did you lose me again?
No. I just was asking
Okay.
you.
Yep. Oh, that's definitely, and it's interesting because again, I'm very familiar with Tim's work and I engage with him quite a lot. So I see when he shares. So I've definitely seen some of these pieces shared. And they're, I mean, the dorsal fin. I love his overhead shots of marine wildlife. That's it's a video on Super Rare that auction is running now. So he really knows what he's doing, and it shows. I don't really have a good explanation for why this collection is stalled. I mean, it's not even stalled.
Here's the video. I got it playing in the screen on Super Rare. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just looking to see what he's done pricing wise, right? So this was originally listed before they had the buy now option. And then he dropped the reserve down to 0.5, and he set the buy now price. So he's tinkered with this quite a bit. And it just, I don't know. I'm looking at Deep Impact, which that's one of the strongest images in the collection. But if I had this answer.
Well, let's look around here because he has other collections, and I think it's good to kind of get a sense for. Okay, so here's one that he sold in a different aerial tides, which is a really beautiful, super beautiful image. That one sold. So that's, it's not that he can't, it's not that he doesn't sell work.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that one literally just sold.
Okay, cool.
I remember seeing it. It sold on the 19th. But yeah, he's got the Super Rare auction running live. This one sold earlier in the week.
Yeah, so this is cool. So okay, so if we're gonna dig in a little bit and kind of talk about what are the ways to make this go, his other question was: is there an issue with smaller collections? Let me see if I can read this. Is there an issue with where the heck? I'm having spreadsheet issues. Is there an issue with smaller collections or 10 or less one-of-ones? I'm going to flat out say the answer is no. There's no issue with that.
Right.
I'm gonna. This is a flavor that I'm gonna share. Ocean and Earth is a super beautiful collection. I think there's a. What I'm noticing is that there are pricing gaps. If you can start stuff in the sub 0.5 ETH range, if you're like in the 0.15, 0.2, 0.25 range, it seems like there's maybe a little more ability for things to sell and for auctions to start there. It requires a different kind of collector to fire stuff off in the 0.5 and up range in order for things to get started. Is kind of what I've noticed. And so I wonder if these are priced a little outside of the range of the kind of people who are buying this kind of work. And it's not to say that they won't sell for more than for these 0.75 prices, but I think perhaps the auctions need to start lower. And I say that having watched multiple friends start auctions in the 0.15 range in the last few days, and then have them take off and then end up selling for 0.5 to even as high as like 1 ETH or more.
Right. Yeah.
And I personally start at 0.2 and end at 0.4 last week.
It's a difficult game to play because if you drop it and only one person slips in with the bid, then it sells below the target. So it's a tough game. But what's interesting is the buy nows on these, like you said, they're 0.75. Reserves are 0.5. And again, when you look at the auctions he's had settle out, those have started at 0.5 and higher. So
Yeah.
it's tough to.
It's tough advice to accept if you've sold stuff for higher, right? If you've been consistently selling at 0.25, you don't really want to start a bid at 0.15 because what if it sells there and now that piece of work that you love is gone. I think a piece of what you have to wrestle through, and this is something I've been personally kind of trying to work through, is that, like I priced one. So I had a piece of work that was priced at 1 ETH for 9 months, and I finally dropped the reserve to 0.2. You're kind of hoping that it wouldn't sell at 0.2, but knowing that I was okay with it selling at that place. And ultimately, I feel like you have to kind of view NFTs and you think about them and realize, as an artist, this is not just because you sold the NFT doesn't mean that work is gone forever. It's still your work. Maybe you don't get to sell it as an NFT again, but it doesn't mean it's not yours. So you have to figure out what does it take for you as an artist to be willing to let go of the NFT. And I know, Jason, you and I personally have talked about this quite a bit. You have images that there's no way you're letting them go for 1 ETH.
Right.
But you have images that somebody could go out and buy it for 0.15 right now, right?
Right.
And
I think
the same. And how you value that is important. It's how you work through this stuff. I would maybe say with Tim, you have to consider, like, are these really worth 0.5? Is that really the lowest you'd take for them? Because maybe it would be cooler to price them a little lower and sell 4 or 5 of them than sell none of them.
And then I'll flip that the other way around.
Sure.
If you've got 2 sales, 0.35, 0.55 in April, and you've got the super rare auction that's running right now, what's the rush?
Right.
If this is where you have these pieces valued, I think the last 2 months are a really hard window to evaluate NFT sales. And that's not just one of one art, but across the NFT spectrum.
Yep.
You and I know Ethereum hasn't done what people expected it to do in the new year. It's been down since January-ish.
Yep.
And then the invasion in Ukraine, I think, kind of got everybody to tighten up a little bit. I think it's really hard to look at activity over the last 2 or 3 months and say, okay, well, these things are stalled. I think everybody's sort of stalled, and there is that confirmation bias, or whatever you want to call it. When you're active on Twitter, you see the auctions that are running, and you see the success that people are having, but that's because that's what we get shown. We don't get shown. It's been 6 weeks since I've had a bid on a piece. I think that when you've got a live auction, patience, I think, is a virtue in this space.
Yeah. Well, I think the very fact, Tim, if you're listening to the recording, hopefully. I think that you have to kind of consider that, like, that super rare sale and all of the hype around it is probably going to draw some more eyes to this work. And then you just need to figure out, like, are you happy with where they are? And are you patient enough to just let it sit for a while? Because this is really beautiful work. The people who like your work are going to see this and go, oh, that's really cool. Like, honestly, here's the deal. I like Deep Impact. That's cool. To me, this is the piece in the collection. This is the best one. And I can't believe that nobody has seen these and bought them already.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I've seen them when he pops up in my Twitter feed. I retweet them because they are exceptional.
But it's a certain kind of person who wants this art, right? I mean, that's.
Yep.
I thought I'll poke my head over to the Discord and make sure that he didn't join us. No Timbo. So I think we're probably, that wraps us up for this session. Jason, anything else that you wanted to add? Any overall guidance for the group today?
Oh, I'm excited to get the updated description recommendations. I think those are super helpful, and for anybody that just kind of watched to see what kind of feedback we give on pieces, I think this is a great set of tools to have when you're looking at putting things together, especially when you're minting on something like, cyclical will push you to do a lot of this on its own, but foundation, super rare, box, wherever else you're going, that when it's minted, it's locked. Always good to have this. Always good to have somebody else look over your shoulder to, you don't want those typos to get minted. I think it's great to have these tools right at our fingertips.
Yeah, I agree. I think I feel the same way, and this is one of those things that I'm guilty of. You know, I go out and I take a shot, and then I type up a really quick description, and then I post it to Instagram or Twitter or wherever, and then I go back and I edit it later. And I think I've been learning over the last few months to be thoughtful up front before I mint the work, even if it's lazy minting on OpenSea, to really be thoughtful about. I mean, even the image. You know, like a few weeks ago, I nitpicked at somebody's image, and I was like, "Hey, you got a bunch of dust spots in here."
Right.
You know, these are the kinds of things. Like, if you're going to mint that thing, you don't get a chance to do it again.
Well, and even with OpenSea, right? Once you put it out there, there's no guarantee that it won't just get scooped up. You may not have a chance to come back and make the corrections you think you're going to have to make.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for everybody for submitting. Jason, thanks for helping me out again and co-hosting. I think, Jason, you're going to be kind of a regular around here, and probably will be hosting some things on your own with a new partner, I'm guessing, in the fairly near future.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Just for anybody who's listening, I'm going to be on a hiatus starting this next week. I won't be around for a week or so. So I know they'll be filling in and having somebody else take my Friday morning slot doing these AMA feedback sessions. And then I think it sounds like Mike Schmidt and I have a plan for a couple of kind of new format feedback AMAs that are going to be coming up here in the next couple weeks. So stay tuned for all of that. MetaJungle team, do you guys have anything to add while we wrap up?
Those were the details that I was going to mention, and thank you guys very much. This was definitely a great session. Sorry I came in a little bit late, but I still really enjoyed what I was able to catch. You guys are definitely great at this, so enjoyed it very much. And yes, stay tuned to the announcements. We'll have a new submission form for those that have not minted work before to kind of help with that process, in addition to continuing this process. But lots of great work shared today, and big thank you both to you, Dan and Jason.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody have a great day.
Thank you.